Okay, so for the next section, we're going to do a carousel, which, if I can just load up the finished project real quick, I'll show you the carousel. So we got the trailer, we got the video. So here's a carousel, and you'll notice on this carousel, they're just images, right? And they scroll. You'll notice there's a caption, and the caption changes a little bit. And we've got these controls, these left and right arrows. We also have these caption controls that allow us to jump around. Okay? So, to get a carousel, just like before, we're going to go to getbootstrap.com. We're going to go to its documentation, components, and here's our carousel on the left. Now, once we've clicked the carousel on the left, you can see several examples of the carousel. And as you scroll down, you see a simple example and they get more complex. I happen to know that we're using a carousel with captions. So I'm going to click on this right-hand side. I'm going to click carousel with captions. Okay? It brings us down to this code chunk. And you'll notice this code chunk is pretty long. It's a good sized code chunk. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this to the clipboard. So again, carousel with captions, copy this to the clipboard, and let's bring back up our code. Now notice beneath the trailer we have a section, so just beneath that section, but we're still inside of the container. This is where we're going to create our carousel. Okay, so again, we're beneath the trailer, we're inside of the container, and I'm going to paste that code that I just copied. Now, okay, now we actually don't need this class. I'm going to put an ID of showcase, and I'm going to add a heading. It's going to say ranking in action. I'll add a paragraph. Say photos around Rankin. This ID, I'm just going to name it Carousel. So the ID is Carousel. Class is Carousel Slide. And this data ride is Carousel, that's fine. Then we have our indicators. These data targets, these 3 data targets, is just Carousel. And there's actually, because I've got a 4th slide, I'm going to add one of these. I'm going to copy that line. Change this data slide to 3. And down here where these images are, you'll notice there's 1, 2, 3 images. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3 carousel items. We're going to add a 4th carousel item. There's quite a bit on this one. So I'm going to copy this entire block, carousel item. Paste it. And format it real quick. So now we've got 4 carousel items. And now we can start adding our images. Okay, so I'm going to download one image initially. I'm going to use one image 4 times, and then I can transition it to 4 different images. Okay, so for the next thing for our carousel is that you'll notice here on line 113, line 120, line 127, and line 134, it says image source, and it just says ... on all 4 of them. Well, we're going to actually fill in some images here, and it's going to be easiest to start with the same image, because what we actually want to do is we want 4 images that are the same size. But if you just go to Google, most images are different sizes. They're not all going to be the same size. So one way to try and fix that is you can give an exact image size on Google, and let's just say, I'll just make that up, 500 by 500. You're not going to find, I'm not finding too many ranking images that are exactly that size. So I'll just pick one image, and here's the image that I'm going to choose. Let me see how big that is. It's a pretty big image. So save image as, when you find your image, save image as. Again, you got to make sure to save it to the right location in your images folder. Make sure to click around, find the right location. And I'm just going to call this rankin1.jpg. You could see the name of it as it downloads. rankin1.jpg. Now if I go back to my source, images / rankin1.jpg, I can actually copy and paste this four times, and then if I open it with the live server, you can see I've got a carousel that's working, and all I need to do is change the captions. The arrows aren't currently working, so we'll have to fix that, but the indicators are working. It does seem to have one thing worth fixing there. So let's go ahead and get the same image 4 times and this working carousel. This is the finished product. Okay, so the next change that I'm going to make, I'm going to try and fix that bug, which is, I believe the arrows weren't working correctly. The other indicators were, but these arrows were not. So the way that can be fixed, if you scroll down here, you could see we've got these couple blocks of code which actually draw those arrows for us. And you can see kind of next and previous, carousel control previous, carousel control next. And so that's what represents those arrows. So the way to fix that is I've been changing the ID of our carousel to just carousel, not carousel example captions. So if you delete that, I believe will fix our scrolling issue. If I test that, I haven't tested this, there might be something else. Okay, that does fix it. And what you can see is down below there's captions, and so that's pretty simple to figure out. You know, here's our first carousel item, and here's the caption, the H5 and the paragraph. Here's our next carousel item. It says second slide label, third slide label. Well, I just copied and pasted this. This needs to say fourth. And obviously with your photos, you'll want to give them accurate captions and accurate paragraphs. But at this point, we have the slider working with one image. The next step is to substitute different images, not just have the same image. So we're gonna get everyone caught up, and then we're gonna do that next.
Come on, everybody, please.
Okay, so what we're going to work on next are the images. And right now I've got one image. I'm just repeating it 4 times. My image is named Rankin1. Down below here, if I click on Rankin1 inside of the folder, you can see the dimensions are pretty big. You can see 1280 wide. That's how wide it is. 960 pixels high. So the picture itself is really big. There's an easy process to resize an image. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 different images, but we want to size them down to be the same size. You do not want to try and make a small image large. You guys know what happens when you try and make a small image large? Stretches it out, gets real blurry and pixelated, right? So it's easy to take a big image and make it smaller. It's a lot harder to make a small image big. So when you're finding your images, you guys remember that trick on how to find a large image on Google, right? So find images that are large in size, and then we can resize them down. The way to resize them down, notice if I right click and click on edit, it opens up this picture in Paint. Well, Paint's a real easy way to resize an image. If you click on resize, you see there's percentage and then there's pixels. These radio buttons. I'm going to click on pixels, and there I see that 1280 wide by 960 high. To make it look okay, if you want to change the ratio of the width and the height, you can uncheck this. But it's going to look a little bit better if you keep that checked. But then again, you're going to have to find 4 images that are the same. I might try, because our images aren't big, let me try 800 by 600. If I click on save, okay, we've got an 800 by 600 image. What you have to click on next is save. So 800 by 600 is the dimensions that I'm going with for Rankin1. Well, let me look up a Rankin2 real quick. So if I search up Rankin images, I'm going to go to try and get some large images. So here's a pretty big image. I'll save image as Rankin2, saving it as a JPEG. Go back into my folder. Here's Rankin2. Remember, 800 by 600 is our size. If I click on resize, if I type in 800, the vertical is going to be different. So in this case, it might be okay to uncheck this box. We'll see how it looks, 800 by 600. Just to keep it the same image size consistently. Okay, now there's other ways of doing this. This is just the quickest and easiest that I know. Okay, there are other techniques. So if I save that image, we now have 2 images that are 800 by 600. Let me go back into my code. This is my first carousel item. Here's my second one. Instead of rankin1.jpg, I'll call it rankin2.jpg. So there's Rankin1, there's Rankin2. Okay. Now you notice, because my images are the same size, the carousel doesn't cause resizing of the page. It's not shrinking, it's not growing, it's staying the same size. That's the benefit of having images that are the same size. If you have small images and big images, it's going to cause this carousel to act wonky and basically make the page grow and shrink while that carousel is sliding. So all we need to do is change this 4 times, and then you can change your headings and you can change your paragraphs to have accurate descriptions for each carousel item. So you notice 1, 2, 3, and 4 carousel items. I could finish this by adding 2 more images. Maybe I'll add this image. Now this is pretty wide and not pretty tall, so I'm actually not going to choose that. Okay, here's one. Pretty big image. Save image as. Rank in 3. I'll do the process just a few more times for practice. You guys can see. If I know I move pretty quick. If I edit rank in 3, real big image, resize pixels, 800. Gonna uncheck that by 600. Still looks good. Go ahead and save it. Change it in my code to rank in. We got rank in 1, rank in 2. Here's rank in 3. Bring the page back up. Rank in 1, rank in 2. There's rank in 3. Let's get one more. Here we go. Right click, save image as. Rank in 4. I do recommend a good naming convention. So rank in 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's nice and easy to remember. They're all JPEGs, as you see. Their file extensions are when you download them. Yeah, with no spaces. Yeah, without spaces. Without special characters. Just real simple and easy. Rank in 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to click resize pixels, 800 by 600. Click on save. That looks good. Click save. Close it down. Rank in 1, 2, 3, and 4. Back on the page. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's going to be it for our carousel. I'm going to save the video and we'll move on to the next section.